Hello and welcome everyone. Today's this discussion. So my name is Athahar, and I'm very honored to be here in part of this discussion. And I hope that everyone is doing well. And I'm really excited, and as well as like everyone else, in our agenda today is looking forward to a productive and engaging discussion about real estate related questions. So before we begin, I would like to take a moment that introduce myself. And I'm Athahar Hussain, and I'm a real estate agent and working for Keller Williams Realty Atlanta in Tucker location. So I'm gonna introduce my guest. I'm so happy to have Patricia here today. Join us with today. She's a renowned expert in real estate industry with numbers of experience, and she has worked with several clients and provided so many invaluable advice and helping them make informed decisions in real estate related. So when Patricia is also a speaker of various real estate topics, making her excellent resource for us today. So throughout our discussion today, we will be diving into a range of real estate topics. However, we will mostly stress out in as a first-time homebuyer and first-time homebuyer do and don'ts and more. So without further delay, let's get started and learn more from our wonderful guest, Patricia Watson.
Well, thank you for having me, Athahar. It is a complete honor to be here and just to share with you some of my knowledge of 22 years being in the real estate industry. So I've seen a lot, and hopefully this session will be an informative one.
Sure. Thank you very much. So today's discussion, I will start with a few very simple things that those questions I'm going to ask. Those questions is actually from my clients, and I will ask you on behalf of my clients. So what they are asking me while in our conversation. So first thing I would like to ask you the first question. So what are the advantages to buying a home instead of renting?
That's a good question. Well, I want to say that I am definitely passionate about first-time home buyers. And the reason being is I am seeing how they are going from renting to actually purchasing or acquiring real estate property. Your first 2, 3 real estate transactions or property should be viewed as your investment property.
Right.
So therefore, the perception should be I'm not going to stay in these homes very long. I'm using them simply as a vehicle to generate wealth. Real estate is a pillar, the number one pillar to building wealth.
Right.
If you're renting, you are foregoing that opportunity because you are paying someone else's rent and you are actually making their dreams come true. So I always say to my clients that are renting and want to continue to rent, would you rather pay yourself or would you like to continue paying someone else's mortgage down where they're living the life and you're actually paying their rent when it could be invested in you and yourself?
Right. So yeah, this it makes sense. So that's why I always suggest my client to whoever eligible to get a home. So why they stop? They should start searching their home, and since he or she is eligible, so go ahead and start searching their home. So, however, there is some other question. It comes to my mind also from my client. Always they ask that to me that what are the preparation they should take before the first time home buyer, what preparation they should take
Okay, so the first step is to actually choose you to work with Athahar.
Yeah,
They need to choose you. That's the first thing because you are the real estate professional. And this
right,
is
right.
what you do every single day, studying the market alongside with thousands of real estate agents across the country. So
Yeah.
you are knowledgeable and you know how to guide them in the right direction. So that's the first step. The second step is to meet with you for a buyer's consultation where you will actually walk them through step by step the process of what it looks like and what they can expect. So, therefore, there won't be any surprises, and then they will know and entrust you to guide them along the way, holding their hand and letting them know what the next step is. So they never, ever have to guess about what's going to happen next when they're working with Athar.
Right, right. So yeah, also like I suggest my client whenever someone, let's say especially my family members, whoever comes to me that they're looking to buy, I mean they're thinking to buy their first home. So I always suggest to them that always check your credit score, determine what you want to do in next few years, or determine your budget that you want to save every month, or so I would suggest to them always like at least save some money for your down payment,
Yes,
which will help you in a long run. So also I also suggest them
absolutely.
like before anyone comes to me, I always suggest just get a pre-approved pre-approval from your lender. So it really helps a real estate agent to go through all the process later on.
That's
Okay,
correct.
so exactly.
Can I
So
add to that? Can I add to that too,
yeah,
if you
sure, go
don't
ahead.
mind? So you're right. You do want to make sure that your finances are in order. So therefore, as Athahar has mentioned, you want to ensure that you have money saved. Not only that, you want to make sure that your credit is up to par. If it is not, it's an
Yeah,
opportunity for you to sit down and speak to him so he can share with you strategies to help build your credit up to where it should be. And he mentioned a very valid point. Now, there's a difference between a pre-qualification.
hmm,
Pre-qualification just simply means that you've allowed the lender to pull your credit and you filled out an application that took you about 15 to 20 minutes to complete. So it's very much a preliminary stage. So
okay,
what Athahar is saying, he's pushing you past that stage to the pre-approval process, which
exactly.
simply means that you have submitted your documentation, your tax returns, your pay stubs, your last 2 months of bank statements, and so forth to the lender so that they can possibly do an automated desktop underwriting process for you to show that yes, you can actually purchase a home. But then what's even better is if Athahar can get you to the conditional approved stage, which means that your file has actually been submitted to the underwriter.
Exactly, right,
And
right.
so that will give you the most advantage in this world of real estate when you're out shopping.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Patricia. But yeah, it's very, very important. A lot of information you have been giving. So the next question I want to ask behalf of my client that can you please just briefly talk about what is the home buying process? Like, just briefly, if you can you just elaborate us just what is the process from the beginning to end?
Okay, what does it look like? Okay, in a snapshot, we kind of talked a little bit about that previously. The first step is to select an agent,
Yeah.
which is at the heart. The second step is to sit down and meet with him for a buyer's consultation. After the buyer's consultation, you will get your finances in order and get that pre-approval or conditional approval, as we just mentioned. After that, then you will know, as well as Adahar will know, how much of a house you can afford and what you feel comfortable with paying.
Right.
And so, with that being said, you can go on to shopping and looking for homes. So it will be a collaborative effort with amongst yourself and Athahar, where if you see a home, you would let him know, text him or email him and let him know so that he could check on the availability of that home. Once he sees that it is available, then he can schedule some time to go and show the property. If you so happen to like any of the properties that he has shown you, please don't hesitate in this particular market to put an offer in, even if it is on the first visit. Do you want to know why? That's because there's still a lack of inventory of homes. So
Exactly.
you want to be able to maximize that opportunity because it is about to get very competitive here. It's the summer market, so you don't want to drag your feet too much with that. So once you find something you like, you go ahead and confidently put that offer in, allow Athahar to negotiate on your behalf. Once he does a great job with that, he is going to get your offer accepted. Once it's accepted, then that's when the ball really starts moving. And that's when your earnest money is due. And earnest money is a deposit just to say that you are going to solidify the contract. And then it's usually 1% of the sales price.
Right.
So if a
1%.
house is 300,000, then that's a $3,000 earnest money deposit, which that money is going to go towards closing costs. It will be credited towards closing costs, so it won't be lost.
Mhm.
Then simultaneously, once it goes under contract, then you also are going to do your due diligence by having an inspection done.
Exactly.
And that normally takes a time period in the contract. It may be 5 to 7 business days when you can get that completed. And you're looking, going to your inspection, making sure that you are going over the report. Athahar is going to go over that with you. Everything checks out okay. If it doesn't, if there are some small things that are really concerning to you, he can do an amendment to address concerns. And then from there, he can negotiate those things with the seller to have them either repaired or maybe a reduction in price or whatever that you guys come to terms with. Once that happens, then you are technically under contract and you can move forward. What happens next is the appraisal period happens. That's when the lender is actually sending an appraiser out to the home to ensure that the value is worth what the contract said. They will not allow you to move forward if the home is not worth that price. So in that situation, there's two choices. One, the seller will have to reduce the price if he
Mhm.
wants to sell it, or or the buyer can bring forth the difference. Like say for example, if you were buying that $300,000 home and it came back to be 295, $295,000. So if you really want that home bad enough, then you would pay the difference of the $5,000 if that seller was not budging and insisted on that $300,000 sales price. Or you could just simply say, hey, it's not working out. And then that way, Athahar will have to, go and just work his magic to get your earnest monies back. And then after that, if all goes well with the appraisal and everything moves pretty quickly, as I mentioned, Athahar's his main objective is to get the pre-approval and then shortly after that, the conditional approval. So you've done a lot of the heavy lifting already. So with that being said, you're going to go ahead and the underwriter will submit to you what your conditions are. Conditions are examples of they need to verify employment. They
Yep.
need to verify where your down payment is coming from. So therefore, the underwriter may ask for updated bank statements to reflect those things, or they may actually have to reach out to your employer and ensure that you have been on your job for 2 years. And then after that, if it all checks out, then it goes back to the underwriter. They say, okay, it's everything is clear. It comes back out and we have what we call a clear to close. So that means that you have a loan, and then there's going to be a party at the closing table with Athahar. So you
Exactly.
guys are able to celebrate and everything is good. But before you go to the closing table, there is a walkthrough because you want to ensure that the property is still in the same condition that it was in when you first put the offer in. You're
Okay.
protecting your client, as Athahar will do for you. And
Oh,
then, if all is well with that, you go to the closing table, and then that's when the celebration starts.
okay, okay. Thank you very much for your wonderful explanation. So I have just another question related to that. So you have already touched a little bit about before. So there is two costs actually, two major costs as a buyer. They have like, one is for it's called down payment. Another is called closing costs. Can you just touch a little bit on those two, please?
Yes, I can. So down payment is it could vary because it could be dependent upon what type of loan you're receiving.
Yep.
So FHA is a government backed loan that allows the least amount to put down. For most first time homeowners, they utilize the FHA loan,
Mhm.
and that requires a 3.5% down payment. So, for example, and this is just for numbers only, because if you were looking at $100,000 home, then your down payment would be $3,500 in that example.
Exactly.
But if it's conventional, and I want to go back. So with FHA, the requirement is with most lenders, it's a 620 credit score. Now they can do lower, but of course we have to be mindful of the interest rate. It will be higher. Now, a conventional loan is one that, if your credit score is a little bit higher, it's like 660, 680, you may be eligible for a conventional loan. And in some cases, you could be required to put down 3%, 5%, or 10%, and so forth. So
Right.
with the conventional loan, there is an opportunity for, once your house acquires at least 20% of equity, you can simply call your lender and ask for them to reduce the private mortgage insurance on the loan. Both FHA and conventional loans have private mortgage insurance. But the good thing with conventional loans is that if you do acquire 20% of equity in your home, that private mortgage insurance can go away. Whereas with FHA, it remains for the life of the loan. So that's what you're going to be looking for in terms of down payment. And it's all going to be dependent upon your credit score. And the higher your credit score is, the lower your interest rate will be, therefore impacting your overall mortgage payment.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Patricia. So, Patricia, so another question is always like clients ask that how long does that take all the process from very beginning to the end until the closing? Approximately how many days does it take? You know?
Yes. On an average, it takes a lender 30 days to actually close the loan from beginning to the end. And if it's longer than that, if it's a FHA conventional loan, and if it's longer than that, then run. Something's not right. It's
That's
a
right.
red flag.
Okay, okay. So thank you very much for more those information is very important for the first time home buyer. I hope those help those people like those my client who are looking to buy their first home. So um, another things related to closing cost. So how much should be closing cost comes up like?
Okay, so when I am speaking about closing costs to my clients, I love to overestimate. And the reason why is because we don't want there to be any surprises. The lender will be able to give you the accurate amount, as to what your closing costs is, and that's another thing. I'm sorry, you did want me to speak about closing costs. So closing costs is an additional amount that will be needed for closing. Closing costs simply means the cost to cover the settlement of the transaction. Like there's a we use closing attorneys. So closing attorneys, they have fees, and then the lenders have fees. And then also incorporated in the closing costs are proration of taxes, the transfer of the deeds. If you've got HOA dues that are required to be collected up front, that is also calculated into that cost, and so forth. So those are just examples of what closing costs would
Right.
cover. Okay. So you were asking me about that was the other question that I forgot to answer.
Right. Right.
But we were talking about the down payment and
Down
all
payment. Yep.
and all of that.
Mhm.
So yes, with the down payment and the closing costs, just make sure that you have both. If you don't, Athahar will be a great resource, and he'll be able to help you out with that.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Patricia, I know you're busy, very busy, but still, I want to just ask you last question, and it would be, can you just give us an overall idea what is the current state of local housing market right now, and as a first time home buyer, just suggest them then how they should start study. I mean, it's not like everything, we as an agent know everything. No, there is a lot of resource in everywhere. They should start their study, their homework, and they can educate themselves before they start, start looking their house, first time home.
hmm So before I answer that, I also want to say the closing cost should be anywhere, I would estimate 4 to 5% of what the sales price
Okay.
is for closing costs. But again, for a more accurate amount, refer to your loan officer who can give you that number. Now, in terms of the local market, I would just suggest that in this particular market, this is where we're at. We're still after the pandemic. There are still a lack of inventory, a lack of homes. So therefore, it becomes very competitive because if you like a home, there's a Bob and Sue and a Joey that likes that same home. So you're in competition. So Athahar is going to prepare you to um, be able to win the multiple bid, because they're in that situation. You are in a multiple bid situation
Right.
because they're placing an offer too. So if they are, you want to make sure that you come with the best terms of the offer, and that is you can close quicker, you have your finances in order, you can allow a possibility. It's a possibility that you may want to allow the seller to live, give them some time to move out, maybe a week, 2 weeks, or something like that. So be flexible in this market. That is very, very key.
Thank you very much. And yeah, so those information, and also, like, I was asking another question that, how they start their education as a first time home buyer, what resource they have. Like, let's say they can just Google it and see that what they should know before to reach out any agent, and at least they have some knowledge, right? So they just not depend on any agent. They should educate themselves. That's what my
Well,
suggestion. Yeah.
another thing to prepare themselves too is when you invite them to your home buying seminar,
Yep.
you will be able to give them more insight on a personal note.
Thank you
So
very much.
that's going to be helpful too, right? For the preparation of the home buying process.
Okay. Okay, Patricia, thank you so much for your wonderful time and your suggestion and your all the insight you have given to us. And I'm really appreciate for your time. And I hope you will take care, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. Have a good day.